Smriti-Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat-Padam Shankaram Logashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vatarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmatacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Beta Vibhakine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Ukaro Anthakaro Vairukarastan Nivartaka Anthakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavati Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vaivasvataya Mrityave Brahma Vidya Acharyaya Nachiketase Namaha. So I will give you an information that those who missed the classes, they can go to the YouTube. We have all the classes uploaded in the YouTube up to this whatever we have gone through. Suppose if you have any confusion, if you want to know the classes, you can go. Already in the screen, we already flashed the YouTube address. It will come 1 or 2 times in between the classes. Okay. So no problem if you miss due to your personal engagements. If you missed 1 or 2 classes, the continuity you will get from the YouTube class. We have already uploaded all the classes. So we will go to the classes now. We are in the Kaṭha Upaniṣad, first chapter, second section, 22nd shlokan, 22nd verse. I will read the verse again and we will see the meaning, what Lord Death told to Nachiketas. Ashariram sharireshu anavasteshu avastitam mahantam vibhum atmanam matva dhiro na shochati. I will read once more. Ashariram sharireshu anavasteshu avastitam mahandam vibhum atmanam matva dhiro na shochati. We have already gone through the first line. Still I will give, because a lot of importance for this verse in the tradition. Our traditional teachers are given. So we will also see all the possible meaning for this verse. While understanding a sentence in a literature or in any prose, we pick up the first word Kaṭha, who is the doer. Then we pick up the verb. Then all the other words will be connected according to the meaning in a sentence. So the same arrangement we will also follow now. In this verse, who is the doer? Kaṭha. Dhiraha. Dhiraha means, literally, if we translate that word, a person who has the capacity to separate what is right and wrong, a discriminative personality. A person who is endowed with a discrimination. To remove the grain from the husk, and he know this is husk, this is grains. This is grain, these are husks. Similarly, this world is filled with one truth and a lot of untruth. And we should be equipped with this single pointed mind, ekagrata, concentration, towards the traditional teachers, and we will generate this viveka. Nitya, anitya, vastu, viveka. Knowing which is the permanent matter that never subject to any kind of destruction or any kind of modification or any kind of alteration. That is called Satyam, and that is only one thing in this world. The truth, that very word will only belong to one single object, what we called Atman, the self. And all other things, what we perceive in this material world, will fall under one category, what we call untruth. Subject to destruction, subject to alteration, subject to modification. So, only one thing is the truth of the entire universe. And all other things, what I perceive with my eyes, with my ears, with my tongue, with my nose, with my skin, by touching, by knowing, understanding, whatever things we perceive in this world are subject to destruction. They never exist in the same condition from the past, in the present, and also in the future. They will be always changing. Second by second, that is getting distracted from one stage to another stage. So, a person who generated this capacity after listening to the traditional teachers' teachings, he get this capacity to see what is the real thing and what are the other unreal things in the world. I already mentioned you that real thing is only one and unreal things are many. We can see this understanding, this implied meaning in this verse. When we say Ashariram is singular, a thing which is devoid with the body. The truth is always presented in singular everywhere. Because in this entire universe, the one and only thing which is the truth, which is the real, which is the essence of this entire universe, is one entity. It will be always see in singular form, Ashariram. See, in Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna presents this entity in singular form in the 13th chapter. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram pratyabhidhiyate. The next sentence is very important, which is much less similar to this, the meaning with this verse. The both meaning are much less similar. The second sentence is Kshetrajñam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Kshetrajñaha, the person who knows this body as a field to interact with the external world, that is been presented in singular form. Kshetrajñaha. This entity which is all pervasive and also dwelling in each and every bodies. Sarva kshetreshu. So, Lord Krishna also present this vision unreal things are many, the real thing is one. The 13th chapter, I think the second shloka. In certain Bhagavad Gita, due to the Pada Veda, this shloka will also become the first shloka in the 13th chapter. Anyway, so in this verse, Dhiraha, a person who can see the difference between what is real and what is unreal. He is endowed, equipped with this capacity to discriminate what is the right and what all other things which are wrong. This is called Dhira. Each and every human being have this talent, is equipped with this faculty of seeing what is right and what is wrong. It's not that only for one person this faculty is endowed. Not true. Each and every human being in this world is being endowed with this faculty, but very few people use this faculty. All others follow this society without thinking what I am doing, whether it is right or wrong. So here, Dhiraha, a person who has created Vairagyam in a certain amount in this world while living, Vivekam and Vairagyam. Vivekam means discrimination, Vairagyam means dispassion. I will come to that Vairagyam. For the time being, you keep the word Vivekam. A person who is having the faculty, who has activated his faculty to see what is right and what is wrong, that person is also called wise. That person is also called Viveki. That person is also called an intelligent one from the standpoint of understanding the truth and understanding what is untruth. That Viveki, this wise person, will not come under grief, will not come under pain, will not come under any kind of sorrow, does not grieve, na shojati. Matva, knowing the factors which are given in this verse. Matva, knowing, after considering the facts. Matva, to think, to understand, knowing, meditating, any meaning we can give. Dhiraha matva na shochati. After knowing the facts which are given in this verse about oneself, this intelligent one will not again grieve in this world while living. Because the Shojati word is in present tense, Vartamana Kalam. It's not in the past tense, will not be grieving. It didn't give. This Shruti, the Lord Yama didn't give. So, in present, while living, if we come to know the real facts about oneself, that one and only truth, which is myself, is not subject to any kind of destruction. If one come to know who is the intelligent one, who is the wise person, who has the capacity to discriminate what is real and what is unreal, that person will not again come under any kind of grief. This is the meaning of the last sentence. Dhiraha matva na shojati. After knowing the fact, matva. Now we will discuss the entire facts given in this verse, which are more interesting. Ashariram sharireshu. We already discussed this sentence in the last class. Still, it will be nice to listen before we going to the next verse. Ashariram, that which is devoid of body. Ashariram. I already mentioned, when you put a in front of the word in Sanskrit, it will become opposite. Nanyi, which we call in grammatical way. So shariram means body. Ashariram means without body. An entity which is devoid of bodiless, which is devoid of body, bodiless. An entity which is free from body, which doesn't have any body, is dwelling in the entire world. An entity which is formless is dwelling in the entire world. Sharireshu literally means in each and every bodies. In each and every body. In all bodies. But this word is representing the entire world. So, in order to understand the meaning completely, we need to understand like this. An entity which doesn't have any body is dwelling in all bodies, or is dwelling in this entire world, what I perceive. Ashariram sharireshu anavasteshu avastitam. The second sentence, anavastha, impermanent, which is temporary in this world. Anything what I perceive in this world through my senses, with the ears, with the eyes, with the nose, with the tongue, with the skin, by touching. These five things are the main senses which help me to interact with the external world. Whatever I perceive through these senses from the external world are subject to destruction, are subject to decay. At one time, in a particular date, it will come to being. In a particular date, it will disappear or it will go to another form. That is what we meant here, anavastha. The stage which they appear is not at all true. They are ever changing. My body, my mind, the people which I perceive in this world, the things which I perceive in this world, the experiences which I have gone through in this world started at a time and already it has gone in another point of time. Anything in this material world doesn't have the capacity to stay without having any change. Everything is subject to destruction. Anavasteshu avastitam. But that entity will not change in the midst of all these changings. All these objects which I perceive may be changing day by day, second by second, moment by moment. But in the midst of all these changings, there is an unchanging entity staying back without having any change. Anavasteshu avastitam. When the ornaments change their forms, from the bangle, it will become a ring or bracelet or a necklace. The gold never change. The gold is one and the same. Similarly, the ornaments are anavastha, in the stage of anavastha. And the essence of the ornament, that is gold, is always permanent. That is been told here, anavastheshu avastitam. Among the midst of all changing, the entity is not changing at all. How I will understand logically? You know, a permanent entity can only mark the events which are changing. The consciousness which is indwelling inside the body is not changing at all at any point of time. That is why this consciousness can understand each and every change of this body, because it is constant in this body. A constant entity can only mark the events occurring every moment. In a room you stay from morning 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, you never went anywhere. You stayed back in that room. So evening 5 o'clock, if I ask you, who are the people came to see you? Then you will list the people to me. Why? You are constant in that room. All others came and gone. When you are constant, you can make the list. All all the changes occurring around you, you can mark. Similarly, all the changes occurring in your body, if you can mark, means you are not changing at any point of time. That is why you coordinate. When I am child, it happened to me. How you can say even at this age, because your body has changed? But the entity which is indwelling inside the body is never subject to any kind of change. That is why at the age of 5, I remember now, this happened to me. Because the same entity was there at that time, and without changing even now, and it will not change after this point of time also. At future also, it will be permanent. So, all bodies, I will say, in the entire universe, this entity which is permanent will not change at any point of time. That is being conveyed by the Lord to Nachiketas. If a wise person comes to know what are the facts, this entity which is free from body, which is bodiless, this entity which is permanent in the midst of all changings, anavasteshu avastidam, if somebody comes to know, then he is called wise. And also some other facts. This entity is also called Mahantam, the big among the biggest. Mahantam, the greatest thing in the world. Mahantam. Of course, when all other things are subject to change, something which is not changing at all will become the greatest thing in the world. It's a common sense idea, correct? That entity being the locus of all the things which are changing in our empirical world, that is the greatest thing. If a wise person come to know, Mahantam Vibhum, this entity which is all pervasive, become many. The ocean will also appear in the form of waves, in the form of bubbles, in the form of surf, in the form of clouds, in the form of vapor, because the content water is not subject to any kind of change. Water never get lost. It becomes many. This is being pointed out here. Vibhum, vivitam bhavati. In different forms, it appears without changing its original form. Swarupa aparityagena rupantara apatti vivartam. Without changing its own nature, it appears in different forms. Vibhum. When we appear in a different form, normally, people used to change their form. For example, I will come to the stock example in the tradition. The milk became curd, means the curd will not again return back to milk. Curd means curd. Now, if you want milk, you have to buy some other milk. This curd you cannot revise to the milk. once in this world, if you given up one form, it's not very easy to return back. We cannot return back to our school days, correct? We cannot return back to our teenage life. Once it is gone, gone. But here, this entity, which is permanent, which is never subject to any kind of modification or change, by nature, without giving up its own nature of unchanging, it appears in different names and forms. It means as though we need to add, as though it appears in different forms. This one single entity, which is never subject to any kind of destruction, which is any kind of alteration, comes into different forms, means as though it never given up its own nature, it appears as though in different things. Vibhum. And now the very important word, Atmanam. May you don't give up the whole idea of the words when I explain each and every word. We started like this. The wise never grieve after knowing the facts which are listed in this verse. And we are discussing the facts given by the Lord Death. What are the facts we have gone through? That entity which is never subject to any kind of destruction, which is bodiless, that entity which is permanent in the midst of all impermanent things in the world. And the next fact, that entity which is the greatest thing in the world, that entity which is in the different forms what I see in this world without changing its nature, and that entity is luckily me, the self. We are not talking about something sitting in the heaven. We are not talking about something which is behind the things. We are talking about the listener. We are talking about the Lord Death is talking about the self, the person who is listening. Ourselves. We are this entity. Even though we are different in forms, separate bodies, we live in separate places, we are very much different by nature. It's all seeming difference. That is what he conveyed through the first two statements. Anavasteshu avastidam. It seems to be very much different from one to one. The bodies are different, but the entity is one in and through every body. That is what is pointed out here, Atmanam. That entity is the me. That entity is luckily ourselves. The intelligent one comes to know that the facts what Yamadharma Raja, the Lord Death listed here, is about oneself. This whole creation is centered on me. That entity is me. That entity is Atmanam. Knowing that myself, now I will bring this Vivekam once again to get more clarification. Up to this point, we thought ourselves based on some mistaken errors that I am this body. Now, Lord Death presented the fact to Nachiketas, and luckily we also came to know that there is an entity which is the base of body. That entity is all-pervasive. Because it is all-pervasive, it is there everywhere in each and every body. But the bodies are different. Now, in Sanskrit, the self is called Atma. Here it is also presented in the word Atmanam. Second case. Knowing this self means, in second case, that Atmanam, knowing me, the discriminative person, knowing oneself that I am not subject to any kind of destruction. I am permanent. I am bodiless. I am the greatest. I am the entity which seems to be many, Vibhum, knowing oneself all these facts. So discrimination comes again into picture. When I say I am Atma, which is the truth, all other things are untruth. In Sanskrit, it is called Anatma. When I say myself, I am the Atma, the self, which is never changing at all at any point of time. All other things which are changing in this empirical world, this external world, is called in one single word called Anatma, which is not self at all. Self is Atma, and something other than self is called Anatma. The entire world is called Anatma. Whatever I perceive is called Anatma. Please note down these two words which occur very every time it will comes into picture. Atma, Anatma, Vivekam. The discrimination regarding what is right, what is real, and what is unreal. The whole world is unreal because every second it is changing, each and every moment. Once I come to know I am not changing at any point of time, that is the knowledge of oneself, Atma Jnanam, Atma Vivekam. At the same time, you come to know that these things are Anatma, which are not me. My body is Anatma, which is changing each and every second. My mind is Anatma. My beauty is Anatma. My family members are Anatma. My house is Anatma. My car is Anatma. My academical qualification is Anatma. My prestige is Anatma. My ego is Anatma. Anatma means something other than the real. My wife is Anatma. My boyfriend is Anatma. I don't run behind all these impermanent things because a Viveki, an intelligent one, comes to know there is a difference between real and unreal. I thought that all these things are real, but it is not true. Logically, Lord Yama presented to Nachiketas that everything other than you, the consciousness, is called Anatma. That is why the Dhira word is very important. The distinction between the real and unreal, he comes to know. A person who comes to know that the self which is indwelling in each and every body is one, which is me, which is myself, which is the greatest thing, which seems to be many, which appeared in many, seems to be apparent reality, and also which is occurring in each and every body, and also which is permanent in each and every body, which is subject to destruction. Knowing these matters, knowing this fact about oneself, knowing that I am the self, which is called Atman, which is not subject to any destruction, and all other things are other than self, Anatma, it includes my body, my mind, my senses, my complex, my money, my car, my building, etc., 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 everything. Whatever you perceive with your eyes, whatever you taste in this world, whatever you listen, I have listened about Christ, Anatma. I have listened about Lord Shiva, Anatma. I have listened about Vishnu, Anatma. Everything other than you, whatever you listen, whatever you perceive, whatever you taste, is called Anatma. This is called discrimination. Without discrimination, Vedanta is nothing. You can just listen for 1 hour and you can be floating again. Without discrimination, Vedanta is just a story. If you have enough discrimination, it is an accomplished fact. It's an assimilated knowledge. That is why Dhiraha, the word, is important. Knowing the Atma and Anatma separately, the person who was grieving about his body's problem, the body-related problem, and also we are all sad due to our ending in this world. Somebody passed away, I will be sad. Something happened to my body, I will be sad. Somebody humiliated me, I will be sad. Somebody thrown some harsh words towards me, I will be sad. All are Sharira Buddhi. Anatma is being taken into real in our life. That which is not permanent, that body which is not permanent, we have taken as real. That is why we are subject to grief. Just give up. Whatever things comes to the body is not mine. These facts are connected to Anatma. My body is Anatma. The things which are coming towards Anatma, we need not to bother about that. Even the diseases, even the things which are, I don't mind, I don't say that you need not to cure the diseases. I am telling about the extra worry about any things in this world. When you realize that I am this self which is permanent and which is not subject to any kind of destruction, and all other things, including body, mind, sense complex in this world, is called Anatma, which is subject to destruction. And what are the facts coming towards Anatma will not bother you at all in your life after knowing this. Any issue related to your body is not going to bother you. It can be death, it can be the money loss, it can be your beauty loss, it can be any limitation regarding the body is not going to affect you. That is why Lord Death told to Nachiketas, if one comes to know these facts, that person will be freed from all kinds of sorrows. Dhiraha Matva, knowing these facts which are listed in this verse, na shojati, never grieve. And it is in the present tense, Vartamana Kalam. immediately knowing while living itself with the body, Anatma, this body will continue after knowledge also. Seems to be. Even though the body never existed at any point of time, still it seems to be existing, and it will get lot of problems every day, but the wise will not get affected by these issues because he has discrimination regarding Atma and Anatma. Body is Anatma, and the issues related to Anatma is not going to make me bother because I am not Anatma. I am the Atma, Atmanam Matva. I am the self which is free from all kinds of limitations and defects coming to Anatma. Because something centered on the body cannot have any effect on Atma. I am the Atma. I am the self which is free from all kinds of limitation, which is never subject to death and birth. Body has certain issues like death and birth, aging, etc., etc. That is an issue related to Anatma. I am not Anatma, I am Atma, and I am free from all kinds of these limitations. Whatever issues related to body is Anatma issues, which is not mentioned for me. I am the self. The Dhira comes to know I am the indwelling self in all bodies in this world. Knowing this fact properly because of discrimination, due to discrimination, this person never grieves in his life after knowing. That is what we call Jivan Mukti. While living, he got liberated after the teachings. Atma, Anatma, Vivekam. Creating the discrimination about what is real and what is unreal, and knowing all the issues are connected to unreal, which is not me. I am the real Atman, which is free from all kinds of duality and all kinds of sorrows and all kinds of issues related to Anatma. I am Atma, I am the self. This discrimination made the wise to be free from all kinds of sorrows and all kinds of pain. What a beautiful verse. Please by heart this verse and keep inside your mind. Ashariram sharireshu anavasteshu avasthitam. It's very easy. Ashariram sharireshu anavasteshu avasthitam. What a beautiful sentence, first line. Mahantam vibhum atmanam. Dhiro matva na shochati. It's easy. I will repeat again. Ashariram sharireshu anavasteshu avasthitam mahantam vibhum atmanam matva dhiro na shochati. After knowing these facts listed by Lord Yama, O Nachiketas, any person who comes to know that he is the indwelling self and all other things in this world are anatma, which is unreal, and he will be freed from all kinds of issues which are connected to unreal things, because this knowledge made him to know the real nature that he is Atman. He is the self. He is the consciousness, which is never subject to any kind of limitation. It's all connected to our body, which is Anatma. This is the proper meaning of this verse. Next verse we will read and we will see the meaning in the next class. And the next class onwards, there will be no Mrityunjaya Mantra Japa, 1 hour complete Kaṭha Upaniṣad class. This will be the last session of Mrityunjaya Mantra chanting. So I will read that a sloka and we will conclude this Kaṭha Upaniṣad section. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyaha na methaya na bahuna shutena yamaiva eshaha vrunude tena labhyaha tasyesha atma vivrunute tanum swam. We will see this meaning in the next class. Okay. Very beautiful slogas which are coming now. Now we will go to the Mrityunjay mantra, Japa. I will do the Sankalpa. Pusti prajabhya paripalayandam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha gobrahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shajini deshoyam kshovarahitaha brahmana santu narpayah sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayah सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम।